Just grab your boots and dance around. A little mud never hurt a soul. It's how we grow, yeah, it's how we roll.
The sun's hiding, but it ain't gone. Keep your heart turned on, turned on.
Keep smiling, keep shining when the storm tries to steal your song. Keep smiling, keep climbing till the dark clouds that don't belong. Oh, misery won't stay where joy is strong. Oh, misery won't stay where joy is strong.
Creeping, saying you can't win.
Just shout louder, drown them out again. Turn the doubts into your fire. Every stumble builds something higher. When shadows linger, light your spark. Don't let them pull you into the dark. Keep smiling, keep shining when the storm tries to steal your song. Keep smiling, keep climbing till the dark clouds that don't belong. Oh, misery won't stay where joy is strong. Oh, misery won't stay where joy is strong.
Stupid people should wear signs, neon bright, so we can find a way to dodge their tangled mess. Avoid their chaos more, say less. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Save me from your twisted life. Politicians dance and spin, blatant lies with a practiced grin. Blame the moon, blame the stars, blame the traffic or faulty cars. You think they're 6, not 35, playing games to stay.
Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Thursday, October 16th, 2025. Welcome back to the program, folks. Chris live in central Pennsylvania. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about, where the dreams all changed since you hung around. Do we all need him? Yeah. Welcome back. Welcome back, Cotter. Welcome back to the program, folks. A pleasure to have you join me once again. We just had a lovely conversation with Tion and Renee in Florida, talking about their experiences coming over the U.S. as refugees under the program. And they waited quite a while, and they got here. So hang in there. If you're interested in that program, if you're not interested in the program, fantastic. This is not an effort to get anybody to leave South Africa. But welcome to our conversation today. I begin this program by saying I'm actually in a pretty darn good mood right now. And so, for people that need a sign, here's your sign. Just wear it. If you don't like that one, you can use my Spar card for your sign. How's that? There's your Spar card. Anyway, for those who need a sign, welcome, folks. I am in a good mood. I'm not sure why. Maybe the music got me there. Pretty cool stuff. The Keep Smiling. Love that one. And here's your sign. They go together very well. They stay in a good mood and, tell the stupid people to put a sign on. Anyway, I bring this to you now. We have some news from the Donald Trump administration regarding refugees coming to America, and that's going to be big news here in just a moment. But before that, let me just share the audio of John Fetterman, my senator, someone I didn't vote for. I never would have voted for in a million years. John Fetterman talking about who's responsible for the government shutdown and the pain that Americans are going through right now. He tells the truth. Now, I tell the truth, and I was actually going to run for that Senate seat, but nobody in Pennsylvania knows who I am. My plan in 2019 was run for that Senate seat. Unfortunately for me, the lockdown occurred and I could not travel the state and develop ties and links and raise funding. And so by the time that was lifted, only people who knew people already or were connected could run for that office. And we had 18 Republicans file for that office. And in the end, it wound up being, the freaking, grifter, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who became our candidate for the Republican Party and ran against John Fetterman and lost. But this is what Senator Fetterman has to say about the lockdown.
Yeah, well, it's like that's why shutting the government is really what the Democratic Party wants to do. And I follow country, then party, and it's the wrong thing for the country in a period of chaos. I refuse to vote to shut our government down. I absolutely would love to have. I would love to have a conversation about extending the tax credits for health care. Absolutely. But I would remind everybody, too, this was designed by the Democratic Party to expire at the end of the year. This is not something taken by the Republicans. They were designed to expire. Now let's have a conversation to extend it and not shut our government down, and let's continue to have. Who has already agreed to that? Yeah, well, it's like.
There you go, folks. John Fetterman telling the truth. As I said, Dogzilla comes on our program late at night and claims Republicans are stealing health care. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's not Republicans. Democratic legislature, House, Senate, and White House came up with the sunset clause. Remember Nancy Pelosi, just vote for the bill. Then you can read it. Seriously? And this is what we got. This is what we got. Now, I'll apologize in advance, folks. Unlike South Africa, when we schedule and contract for services, they normally arrive. I have a vendor who's supposed to come and check my heating system today. I'm under contract for them to come twice a year to make sure my heating system functions properly. And they're scheduled to arrive between 10 and 2. It's now halfway through that at 10 o'clock. Hey, there's Brett Sessoms. Haven't seen him in donkey years. Hear about what's happening in Cambodia. Lots of job offers that end up being scams, I would advise. Yeah, no, well, it's not just Cambodia. That happens in the Philippines and elsewhere, too. Be careful. Thank you for the $10 super chat there, Brett. Clouds are gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get on to the big news with Donald Trump, I must share the following with you. I'm going to tell you something. If he didn't watch it, then this is on him, but I have some news for Hendo. Hendo, are you ready, my friend? Hendo? The link, I will share it with you here, folks, in the chat if you want to go do this. If you leave me now to go watch it, I'll understand, especially Hendo, if he stops being a moderator and rushes over to take care of this. I fully understand, Hendo. I get it. But last night, apparently, after 6 years of waiting and removal of the hungry hippos and the morbidly obese women pretending to be models to promote sexy lingerie, we returned to normality. Unfortunately, the media portrayed it as a diverse experience. Who cares? I wasn't looking at hoochie mamas, whether they're black or white or brown. I was looking at the stunningly attractive angels on the catwalk. Victoria's Secret models are back, and they're not grazing in the veld. They're actually attractive. Yes, there were some larger women, a little bit plus size, but they were attractive women. And they had K-pop. Oh my goodness, I love K-pop. The little bouncing around little Korean girls singing. It was awesome. It was awesome. There you go, folks. If you want to go check it out, there it is. There it is. So if you leave now, we see the audience drop from 452. I'll understand you're going to watch it. But it is an awesome performance, fantastic music. And I think there was some Shakira moments in there. It was pretty cool. I know Hendo's probably gone already. Now that if he missed it, yeah, look at that. What his head is exploding. Hendo's head is exploding because the Victoria's Secret models are back, and they're not hungry hippos. They're attractive. I'm telling you, folks. Oh, yeah, Sydney has great shots. Garrett, shame on you. Yeah, there was a lot of that going on last night. Anyway, so folks, you know, I'm telling you, man, the Victoria's Secret, there's the link. It's 1 hour, 43 minutes. Jump ahead. There's a bunch of goobers. It doesn't really start until about an hour into it. 49 minutes, 50 minutes, 52 minutes. At 53 minutes is when it starts. And yes, these are not emaciated Ethiopian famine victims on the catwalk. They're not 13-year-old girls pretending to be women. They're not dudes with the stuff tucked in pretending to be women. This was women. I mean, maybe they slipped a few trans through that we don't know about, but these were dead sexy women wearing dead sexy lingerie. And Hendo is going to be over the moon, ladies and gentlemen. If he missed it last night, he will be off doing it now. Subscribed is one of my favorite channels. There you go. It's one of his favorite channels. There you go, folks. Celebrating beauty once again. And not just skinny minis, but also larger size women who were very attractive. But of course, the media has to turn into it was the most diverse event ever. They only care that white women are eliminated from. That's all they care. That's their example of diversity. But this was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Lots of white ladies, lots of brown ladies, lots of black ladies, lots of Asian ladies. But the K-pop, I love the K-pop. It was awesome. Just well. Yeah, Carol Ann, gorgeous, celebrating beautiful women. It's fabulous. Women can be beautiful. We're not all supermodels. Men can be attractive too. We're not all supermodels, but there's nothing wrong with celebrating beauty. It doesn't mean you have to aspire to be that way. We can all appreciate. I appreciate the grand Tetons. You know what that word comes from? French, right? It means the big titties. The grand Tetons. Those are big boobs. That's why those mountains are called the Grand Tetons, because they got peaks. They look like boobies. Anyway, so there you go. So I love the Grand Tetons. They're beautiful. Natural beauty. Yeah, anyway, pretty is pretty again. Exactly. We're saving the world here. But of course, now we'll get all these unrealistic expectations, forcing little girls to starve themselves so they look like these models. No one's telling your kids to do that. No, don't do that. But appreciate beauty for what it is. 1440 says, beauty is in the eyes of the beer holder. Well, that's true. As there come beer, the standards got to go down a little bit. Anyway, for men and women. Baby Dina says the men are getting excited. Well, those who've left, we've lost 40 subscribers. They went over one. No, I'm just kidding. We actually gained 45 since I mentioned it. My goodness. Chris Africa Wyatt, in a relationship, I prefer personality, but this is getting ridiculous. Nothing is wrong with looking at beauty and appreciating beauty. Brett, look, I'm not arguing with that. I'm also not arguing with people being normal and average. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. And people don't fall in love just because of beauty. People fall in love because of some kind of chemistry that draws you to a person. That's not my point. My point is that Victoria's Secret went woke several years ago and destroyed the whole concept of Victoria's Secret. The idea is sexy lingerie. By the way, they sold plus size sexy lingerie, but, trying to push that stuff on people. Anyway, so enough of that. Beer goggles, beware. CMM's wife is laughing. Hey, I'm telling you, man, go watch it. I love the K-pop, man. I'm straight up, but not the dudes. I'm not into the dudes. The little Kenya, Korean gay Backstreet Boy thing doesn't do it for me. But the K-pop ladies, I'm loving that. I've always loved that stuff. Anyway, I can never keep track of them, all the groups, and I think they're all lip syncing, but it doesn't matter. It's awesome. Chris Ayler says, I could have been a Victoria's Secret. Interesting, Chris. Thank you for sharing that. Some people thought that photograph was very attractive back in the day. All right, so let's get to the news. The first thing we're going to talk about here, folks, thanks for being here. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done already. If you're not a subscriber, you're just watching in the background. Hey, listen, YouTube doesn't charge anything for subscriptions. I don't charge anything for subscriptions. It's free. Become a subscriber. Help us grow the channel. We're falling behind Ronaldo. Ronaldo is getting a free ride here for whatever reason. He's up to almost 200,000 subscribers. We can't allow that. By the way, if you don't mind, please go become a subscriber to the Truth Report. Hendo, if you're still here, if you're not looking at the Victoria's Secret models, could you please put the link in there, or one of the other mods, put the link in for the Truth Report so that people can go subscribe to that. If we get to 100,000 subscribers, which is just a little over 3,000 away by October 31st, Rob Hersoff will pay for part of my next travel to South Africa. He'll pay half of it. So I do have a vested interest in this and seeing it go over 100,000. Plus, also in the full disclosure, I am an anchor on that network. All right. Yeah, but you get pretty, then you get Victoria's Secret pretty. Keep telling your wife she's beautiful as she can be. Well, Sean, that's just wise. That's wise. All right, let's get to it. Donald Trump administration is looking at altering the refugee program to favor white folks. No. How dare he think that white people deserve to come to America? This is only a country for brown people. No. Actually, in the past, we've had racist legislation that prevented Chinese from coming here, prevented people from other parts of the world coming here, and America largely took only those of European descent into our country for decades and decades and decades. That policy was reformed, and it's been completely flipped upside down to where we take almost no white people coming to this country. It's crazy. Trump is trying to turn that around, according to the New York Times. But do not panic. Do not panic. This is an idea. It is not into implementation at this point. Well, panic. Why would you panic about that anyway, no matter who you are? From my perspective, if we're going to offer refugee status, it should be available to anyone who's persecuted, but within limits. We don't bring the whole world over here, but we bring a certain number of people over who are truly in trouble. And that doesn't matter if you're white, brown, or black. I don't really care. If we're going to be kind to people, it should be kind to people across the board. We shouldn't exclude white people because that's just racist. Trump considers overhaul of refugee system that would favor white people. The proposals would transform a program aimed at helping the most vulnerable people in the world into one that gives preference to mostly white people who say they're being persecuted. See, there's the problem with this. Here's the problem with this. This is already a scumbag, leftist, biased, bigoted, racist article. Right there. Would transform a program aimed at helping the most vulnerable people in the world. Okay? So white people can't be the most vulnerable people in the world? Then why do we bring 300,000 Ukrainians over here? Into one that gives preference to mostly white people who say they're being persecuted. So we're supposed to believe the other people are being persecuted, but white people can't be persecuted. These are scumbag racists. And I'll tell you their names right now. I'll tell you their names. First off, here's a photograph from the first 59ers. And they took a photograph when people were tired and exhausted and looked unhappy. Look at that. Some of the dozens of white South Africans who accept the invitation from Trump to come to the United States as refugees arrived at a hangar in Dawson, Virginia in May. Yeah, some of the white refugees. And what about the colored refugees, you racist bastards, in the New York Times? Zolan Kano Youngs and Hamed Alaziz. These are the authors of this filthy piece of tripe. Zolan Kano Youngs and Hamed Alaziz. Gee, I wonder what dog in the fight they might have. The Trump administration is considering a radical overhaul of the U.S. refugee system, which would slash the program to its bare bones while giving preference to English speakers, white South Africans, and Europeans who oppose migration, according to documents obtained by the New York Times. The proposals, some of which have already gone into effect, would transform a decades-old program aimed at helping the world's most desperate people into one that conforms to Mr. Trump's vision of immigration, which is to help mostly white people who say they're being persecuted while keeping the vast majority of other people out. Well, first off, you dipshit, moron, leftist, hate-wanking, scumbag pieces of filth from the New York Times. I think I made my position clear about their article. It's not immigration. It's not immigration. Stop conflating refugees with immigration. People can immigrate here from all over the world. Stop your lies and your effort to distort the truth. You are a shameful publication. Mostly white people who say they're being persecuted. Really? You assholes. I'm sorry for the language, folks, if that offends people. You assholes at the New York Times. Put yourself in the shoes of the people who've come over here. You bastard, scumbag, racist. Unbelievable. I'm ready for a rant now. I'm sick of the New York slimes. This is disgusting. This isn't journalism. This is propaganda. Who say? Do they take one case of a single person in the experience they went through in South Africa being persecuted because they were a minority? No, they don't. They just say the garbage and filth that they want to say. Unbelievable. The plans were presented to the White House in April and July by officials in the State and Homeland Security Department after President Trump directed federal agencies to study whether refugee resettlement was in the interest of the United States. Mr. Trump has suspended refugee admissions on his first day in office and solicited proposals about how and whether the administration should continue the program. That much is true. Trump administration officials have not ruled out any ideas, according to people familiar with the planning, although there is no set timetable for approving or rejecting the ideas. So there is no plan. These are suggestions or proposals. So they're giving the impression that Trump is changing the system, but he hasn't agreed to any of it. He asked for proposals, and these are the proposals. The proposed changes put emphasis on whether applicants would be able to assimilate in the United States, directing them to take classes in American history and values and respect for cultural norms. Well, they already get those things. So I don't understand that. That's not a change. Refugees get that from the Refugee Assistance Program when they arrive here. So what's different there? The proposal also advised Mr. Trump to prioritize Europeans who have been targeted for peaceful expression of views online, such as opposition to mass migration or support for populist political parties. That appeared to be a reference to the European far-right political alternative for Germany, whose leaders have trivialized the Holocaust, revived Nazi slogans, and denigrated foreigners. That's also factually untrue. A couple of members of the Alternative for Deutschland have done that, but not the leaders of the party. That's a lie. That's not the leaders of the party. There are hundreds of leaders of the party. That's a broad statement that's just a lie. CBS has still leftist Dirk Coetzee. Yesterday, they ran a story, or over the weekend, they ran a story about interviewing Kristi Noem, in which she talked about someone who was purported to be a pillar of the community. People saw him as a pillar of the community. And then they cut off the rest of the interview where she said that he was convicted of this crime, that crime, that crime, this crime, that crime, and all the horrible things he'd done, and he was an illegal immigrant. They cut that out. So basically, it made the Department of Homeland Security look like they were just deporting somebody who was a great citizen, a great member of society. He wasn't. He was a criminal. But they cut that out. CBS is still wickedly evil. Still wickedly evil. A senior official said the Trump administration was monitoring the situation in Europe to determine whether anyone would be eligible for refugee status. Mr. Trump enacted some of the proposals in the documents even before plans were submitted to him, including slashing refugee admissions and offering priority status to Afrikaners, the white minority who once ran South Africa's brutal apartheid system. Once again, a lie, fiction, bullshit propaganda. Bullshit propaganda. Trump suspended the program and restarted after 90 days. That's not said here. In addition, the program is not a priority for Afrikaners. That is a lie. That is a lie. It is a lie. The New York Slimes should be charged with malpractice. This is journalistic malpractice. The program is open to racial minorities, not Afrikaners, racial minorities. Mr. Trump has claimed that Afrikaners face racial persecution in their home country. They do. A claim vigorously disputed by the government. Well, yes, because they lie. They lie. The South African government lies. It lies about everything. It hides crime statistics. It labels attempted murder as a house invasion, a house robbery. It lies about everything. Police statistics do not show that white people are more vulnerable to violent crime than other people in South Africa. Nobody claims that white people are more vulnerable. What people accurately state is white people are intentionally targeted. That's a very different situation. And police statistics are bullshit in South Africa. I have the police report that lies from May, in June, claiming that a couple were robbed. They weren't robbed. He was beaten senseless and died from the wounds days later after they tortured him for 8 hours and left him bound, a helpless man who had a hip operation, confined to a wheelchair, and listed as a house robbery. Bullshit. You can't believe police. These are not journalists. These are not journalists. They're lazy, propagandists, racist bigots. That's what they are. That's what they are. It takes very little effort to uncover this. Why do these people have a platform? They're just despicable. Absolutely despicable. Taken together, the proposals would provide a window into Mr. Trump's intentions for a program that has come to symbolize America's role as a sanctuary. No, America is not a role as a sanctuary. We're generous, but we're not a sanctuary. Mr. Trump and many American voters have rejected that role after years of record illegal crossings at the U.S.-Mexican border. Don't forget the Canadian border. Millions have come in from the Canadian border as well. Although the refugee program, with its meticulous screening processes and years-long waits, is considered the right way to seeking protection in the United States, Mr. Trump has made clear he wants to crack down immigration in general, both legal and illegal. Once again, refugees are not immigrants. Immigration is different. Stop conflating, you dumbass doorknobs. Learn something. Where do these people go to school? Damascus? According to the rationale laid out in the documents submitted to Mr. Trump, America's acceptance of refugees has made the country too diverse. Well, I haven't seen the documents, so I can't commit to that. I have no idea what the documents say. I have to take the word of the New York Times. Good luck with that. The sharp increase in diversity has reduced the level of social trust essential for the functioning of democratic polity. According to one of the documents, the administration should only welcome refugees who can be fully and appropriately assimilate and are in line with the president's objectives. Well, with that, I agree. I agree. We shouldn't have enclaves of Somalis in Minnesota who reject our rule of law and impose Sharia. We shouldn't have Yemeni, Nigerian, Chadian, Sudanese who come here and slice the clitoris off of their 12-year-old daughters and stitch up their vaginas. We shouldn't have that. That is not acceptable. We should not allow Palestinians to come to this country, breed, reproduce, and give us the likes of Rashida Tlaib, an anti-American, anti-white, anti-Christian scumbag member of Congress. We shouldn't have that. No, 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 no. Either you come to this country and accept what this country is, or get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. You have no business being here. None. And if they want to change the program to prevent people who have no interest in becoming Americans, I've met many people who've come here on the refugee program and also come here as immigrants and those who won the visa lottery. I've met Georgians. I've met Azerbaijanis. I've met Sudanese. I've met Congolese. I've met Liberians. I've met Egyptians. I've met people from all over the world who work their ass off and try to become Americans and contribute to society. But millions have come in this country and want to bring their broken, corrupt, morally bankrupt, and failed policies from their broke-ass countries to this country and convert this country into the cesspools they came from. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. To that end, the documents say Mr. Trump should cancel the applications of hundreds of thousands of people who are already in the pipeline to come to the United States as refugees, many of whom have gone through extensive security checks and referrals. Mr. Trump's federal agencies propose imposing limits on the number of refugees who can resettle in communities that already have a high population of immigrants on the base of the United States should avoid the concentration of non-native citizens. Exactly. In order to promote assimilation. I agree. I agree. We should not put 10,000 refugees in Twin Falls, Idaho, a population of 55,000. That's just a recipe for disaster. How the hell Springfield, Ohio got 18,000 Haitians dumped in that community of just 60,000 people? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. If Haitians want to come here to escape Haiti and we accept them, they can live here. They can live there. They can live here. They can live there. No. No. We're not creating ghettos. That's what the Biden regime did. That's what Obama did. Creating ghettos in this country. Thomas Pickett, a spokesman of the State Department, said would not comment on specific details document, but he said it should come as no surprise the State Department is implementing the priorities of the duly elected President of the United States. This administration unapologetically prioritizes the interests of the American people. The administration has made some exceptions to its refugee ban. According to documents, federal agencies who work to resettle a limited number of Afghans who assisted U.S. soldiers during the war. Aha! 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 The truth comes out. What have I been telling you since July? Since July, I have told you that the ban was lifted. People are coming over, other refugees, including specifically, I said, Afghans. Look at this. The New York Times, July, August, September. 4 months later, they begin to actually give you the facts. 4 months later, something I told you 4 months. Do you know why I knew that 4 months ago? Because I talked to refugees, because I've been to refugee assistance centers, because I do research, because I get on the ground. I'm not some smarmy, slimy nobody working for the New York Times, give it a job, give it a salary, and not doing journalism. Why are there more refugees than ever before? Because the world's a mess. The world's falling apart. They don't bother. Ladies and gentlemen, a major media outlet contacted Earl Langton recently and wanted to interview him and ask him questions about his arrival. Earl has been here since May. He's been interviewed by everybody except Jesus Christ Superstar. And this major outlet is just waking up and wants to pester him for another interview. These aren't journalists. They're not. They're lazy shits. Lazy shits. And it's embarrassing. They have budgets. They have the ability to travel. They have telecommunications. They don't pay for any of this. The people they work for pay for that. CBS News, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times. I pay for this crap out of my pocket and travel the world to get news. And these scumbags spread their propaganda. Critics say the plan exposed the president's vision for what America should look like. It reflects a pre-existing notion that among some Trump administration as to who the true Americans are, said Barbara Stark, former chief of the Refugee Affairs Division at Citizen Immigration Services during Bush, Obama, and Trump administrations. And they think it's white people, and they think it's Christians. Other changes include more intensive security vetting for refugees, including expanded DNA tests for children to ensure that they're related to the adults they're traveling with. Well, duh! Why the hell wouldn't you do DNA testing when someone brings a minor child? I think that should be mandatory. The amount of fraud we have going on, well, this is my child. They're not. You're trafficking that child. It's not your child. Of course, that's going to expose some embarrassing things. It's my child. Sorry, sir, it's not. She slept with someone else. But we should be requiring this. That should be a minimum requirement, is DNA testing for children to prove that you are the parents. Mr. Trump is planning to slash the number of refugees allowed in the U.S. to 7,500 in the upcoming year, a drastic decrease from the limit of 125,000 set by the Biden regime last year. Trump is required by law to consult Congress on imposing a refugee limit, but White House officials say the government shutdown has delayed that. It was due in September. Administration officials have not done submitting proposals to the White House, which have to decide. According to a draft of a third report stolen by the New York Times, they say obtained. Well, it's a government document. How else would you get it? It wasn't issued by the government, so that's stolen. The latest proposal calls for U.S. embassies to make referrals for those who should be considered for refugee status rather than the United Nations, which has long been the practice. This change will allow for greater American control of who gets funneled into the refugee pipeline. Yes and no. We don't have to accept the names fed by the United Nations. We can reject that. At the United Nations General Assembly last month, Christopher Landau, Deputy Secretary of State, defended the Trump policies during a panel on refugee policy, saying that the process is susceptible to abuse, is not being xenophobic, it is not being mean or a bad person. Saying the process is okay. Migrants at the border, however, seek protection through a program separate from that of refugees who often wait years overseas. Well, migrants are illegal alien criminal invaders, and they belong in this country not. Yep. Many local leaders, refugee advocates, argue that not only can refugees adjust to life in America effectively, they also benefit local economies. Really? Then why do we have people prostrating and beating their chest and taking over communities in Michigan? Why do we have Atlanta where radical Muslim sects are running around terrorizing people in the streets? Assimilating? No. Marian Abernathy, a lay leader of the Judea Reform Congregation Synagogue in Durham, North Carolina, has helped refugees who have settled in her community since 2016, including a dozen families in the last 4 years from Afghanistan, Ukraine, Haiti, Venezuela, and Syria. The refugees have worked as nursing aides, engineers, Uber drivers, medical technicians, lunch coordinators at local schools. They come to dinner at our houses. We go to dinner at their houses. We go to events together, hang out at the museum. I don't feel like they're not integrated. I rarely see a group of people who work harder than and who want fewer handouts. And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. And that's what I've said. Refugees, legitimate refugees, tend to work harder. It's the illegal aliens who don't. Yep. So the Democrats trying to socially engineer the demographics through illegal immigration was okay. Exactly, Dirk Kutsia. Trump is restoring balance to that. When will the federal government budget be finalized? Well, it won't be a federal budget. They'll go into continuing resolution. When will the continuing resolution be passed? When the Democrats capitulate. Won't happen soon, folks. We are the Borg. Resistance is futile. Yep. Yep. Trump controls the borders. End of story. Yep. Sarita Flippa, welcome to you. A lot of child trafficking is happening. Okay. All I can say is when the shutdown is lifted, there are going to be a lot of refugees on flights. Yep. That's right, Dirk. It's going to be a lot to clear the backlog. Okay. So these are disgraceful people. They're not journalists. All right, so yeah, that story. Well, that's the first story, and we spent 30 minutes getting through it. Well, Senzom Kunu defends his decision to disband the Political Killings Task Team. Suspended Police Minister Senzom Kunu, appearing before the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, defended his move on the South African Police Service's routine practice of disbanding specialized task force once their mandate is fulfilled. Really? So assassinations were done? There are no more assassinations? He stated during his testimony in Parliament today that task teams typically established for specific objectives are on a timeline. The minister was questioned about disbanding a high-profile political killings task team amid allegations linking him to criminal syndicates that purportedly influenced this decision. Task teams are created for particular objectives within certain time frames. Well, for example, the PKTT was conceived with a clear 6-month operational period. It was extended after 2022, but was not renewed afterwards. The discontinuation was not arbitrary. It was a matter of funding prioritization and strategic restructuring, not undue influence. So the assassinations continued, and you just decided that it wasn't a priority anymore. Kind of like farm killings, huh? All right. Well, all right, Senzo. Thank you. ANC coalition partners in the grand idiotic government of national unity are not backing down. They're demanding answers. They want the Independent Electoral Commission to get off its ass and do an investigation into the finances following the Ezulweni writ order. ANC's financial woes continue to haunt them, with Action SA and the Democratic Alliance now calling for the Electoral Commission of South Africa, Action SA is not part of the GNU, to investigate the party following its protracted legal battle with Ezulweni Investments. The DA has also called on the ANC to immediately disclose its benefits, alleging the party is attempting to hide funding. Yep, exactly. In 2023, Ezulweni Investments applied to seize assets worth more than $102 million from the ANC after the party refused to pay it despite 2 judgments in the company's favor. One handed down in September of 2020 and an appeal heard by a full bench in June of 2022. Supreme Court of Appeal upheld a decision in the Gauteng court last month, which the party initially said it would appeal to the Constitutional Court. In the same year, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula announced that the two parties had reached an agreement that saved the ANC from embarrassment leading up to the elections. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's something that was said by an ANC leader and staffer. We are in the red financially, and I suspect our campaign for the elections will suffer if Ezulweni executes the order. Fundraising has not done enough to pull us out, and Gwen Ramakopa needs to pull a rabbit from the hat and fast. A clear admission inside the ANC that they did not have any money. So how did they fund the 2024 election campaign? Tehran? Beijing? Moscow? Your pension funds? How did they fund it? It emerged earlier this month that Ezulweni had threatened to obtain writs of execution for the movable assets of the party at their provincial offices in a bid to recover 85 million rand that they were never paid. We were misled by South Africa's media and by Fikile Mbalula, who lied to us and said that the debt was settled in late 2023. How about we haul Fikile Mbalula before the courts for lying and misleading? That's fraud. That's fraud. He claimed that the debt was paid. According to what's happening with the courts now and with the sheriff seizing assets from the ANC at Lutuli House, the debt wasn't paid. At least most of it wasn't paid. 85 million outstanding. So why were we misled? Why were we lied to? You want to talk about threats to democracy? You want to talk about election interference? That's election interference. The public needed to know that the ANC was bankrupt and somebody was illicitly funding it. Look at the IEC funding reports. The Bato Trust, Chancellor House. But where's the rest of the money coming from? That money didn't cover their expenses, let alone the debt they owed or the 20 million they spent on their birthday party in Mbombela Stadium. Where is the money coming from? Where is the money coming from? Honestly, that's the question. Why are we not aware of this? Where is the money coming from? What is the ANC up to? How dirty is the ANC? Honestly, where? So we've known all along, and we know now we were lied to by mainstream South African media, but maybe they were hoodwinked by Fikile Mbalula. Maybe they believed it and they're too lazy to do an investigation to find out if the payment ever made. Why did no media outlet ever follow up Ezulweni since 2023, December of 2023, to find out if they've been paid in full? None. No interest in it because they're corrupt. They're lazy. They're in South Africa. They have the ability to ask these questions any given day. But they didn't go because they're not real journalists. They're propagandists. If they were real journalists, they would have been at Ezulweni sometime during the election campaign and said, hey, did you get those funds cleared? Have they actually paid the debt? No. Now we find out after the election, after 40% of idiots voted for the ANC, that we were lied to. Where's the money? Is it in the couch cushions? Is the money in the couch cushions, ANC? Where is the money? Show me the money. Show me the money.
Money stuffed in my sofa, a treasure untold. Shira's got her game right.
Stories untold. Pala Pala. Ritzy joint. glimmer and gold. Stay overnight, don't you stray. Couch cushions hide a rainy day. Pala pala, where the secrets stay. Under the cushions, the cash will stay. Pala pala, don't give it away. Rainy day, rainy day. Hey, where's the money? Where's the media? Where's the anger? Wake up, South Africa.
Luxury whispers and velvet dreams. Sarah laughs, but nothing's as it seems. Game of chance or a clever scheme. Hidden fortune stitched in the seam. You'll never know till you're caught in
the stream. Come on, boys. Where the secrets play. Under the cushions, the cash will stay. Pala pala, don't give it away. Rainy day, rainy day. Hey. Stop picking on my singing ability. You're just mean. You're mean. You must be a racist. Stop picking on me. Are you a racist? Who's there? Is it the sex pervert? Joe. You got me off the cue now. I forgot my rendition. The cash will stay. Pala pala, don't give it away. Rainy day, rainy day. Hey, where's the money, ANC? Where's the media? Why is it taking almost 2 years to expose that they never paid the bills? Where's Izawani's money? Deadbeats. Where'd the 20 million come from for Umubela? Yeah, where did the campaign money come from? It hasn't been disclosed to the IC. Where is the investigative journalist from News 24? Peter DeToy and George Claassen, and they're just telling us what a great platform News 24 is. They're investigative journalists, and they do some great investigations. Why aren't they investigating this debt? Why are the investigative journalists at News 24 not deep into this story? Hip deep. Why haven't they exposed this? December 2023, 12 months of 2024, and now 10 months of 2025. It's almost 2 years later. Where is News 24's impressive 80 million clicks investigative journalism now? Where is Umugani, the Daily Maverick? Where are they at? Show me the money. Show me the money. Where's the investigation? Nowhere. Nowhere. Why? Because they're in the pockets of the ANC. Some people claim. I didn't say that. Some people claim that. Yeah, I don't know why. If they're such good investigative journalists, why? They've investigated the Tembisa Hospital and the assassination of Babita Deokaran. Why are they not investigating this? And oh, by the way, why did it take Lieutenant General Nanda Mkwenazi to reveal the rot in SAPS? Why wasn't that carte blanche? Times Live, Sunday Times, Newsroom Africa, SABC, Capra 24, IOL. Where were they at? Where were they? You see, that's the role of journalist. Garrett says they're bought. Yeah, bought and paid for, maybe. Yeah. Pala pala. Pala pala. So, wow, we're not getting through many of these stories, are we? Well, the ANC is booted out in a by-election. The PA sends them out on their ear. The PA has claimed victory in Soweto's Noord-Gesig by-election. Patriotic Alliance snatched ANC's ward in Soweto and secured a ward in Swellendam as well. Action SA won its first ward in the Northwest, calling it a historic breakthrough. ANC secured wins in Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and the Western Cape, which showed it what it called enduring confidence. Enduring confidence in the ANC. I'm sorry. Oh, dear God. Enduring confidence in the ANC. Okay. If you say so. Okay, Ian, I see your message. Yeah, what about the Zondo Commission report? Nobody's been punished for that, have they? Yeah, ANC confidence. The PA's Ismail Steenkamp is the new councillor in Ward 29 in Soweto. Got 1,756 votes, or 30.5%. The PA got 30.5% in Soweto, and that's not the colored vote. Wow. Well, it sounds like Gate McKenzie doing something right. ANC came in second with 1,302 votes, or the voter turnout was just 36%. Yep. Julian Matheson is the party's new councillor for Ward 6 in Swellendam. PA President Gate McKenzie took to Twitter to express his pride. When they were busy lying about us, we were busy on the ground. When they were busy photoshopping our pictures, we were busy working. When they were writing bad headlines, we were busy writing up people. X is not real life. Your opinion is yours only. We are here now. Well, okay. But what about Kenny Kennedy hanging out with gangsters? Seems to have been swept under the carpet there, Gayton. Swept under the carpet. And your concept that South African taxpayers have to pay for video replay for football, that's just dumb. That's dumb. Michael Beaumont, the chairperson of the party, said the results of two by-elections which Action SA contested demonstrate that Action SA is growing at the expense of the ANC and reveal critical momentum ahead of what is shaping to be a seismic local government election next year. Beaumont said Action SA had undergone a period of repositioning through the establishment of its own governance footprint in Tshwane, Operation Big Green Umbrella, which assimilates smaller parties under Action SA brand. Yesterday's by-elections reveal this approach is now bearing fruit. Historic first by-election win for Action SA took place in Ramotsara Moala. That's Zeerust. That's Zeerust, where Action SA becomes the first party to ever win a award off the ANC post-1994. Well, congratulations to Action SA, but I do have some advice from Michael Beaumont. Muzzle your party leader. Stop letting Herman Mashaba post racist drivel on Twitter, and your party will do much better. Just saying. Just saying. How is Mr. Zuma going to live? Concern from the judge over attaching his retirement check to pay the debt he owes South Africans. In 2021, the Supreme Court of Appeal confirmed that Jacob Zuma was not entitled to continue state funding of his corruption trial defense cost and ordered the state attorney to take all reasonable steps to recover the taxpayer funds that had been already spent. In January 2024, the state attorney presidency launched litigation against him to recover 29 million rand. On Wednesday, the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria, Judge Anthony Miller heard arguments from advocates representing the state attorney, presidency, DA, and Zuma about the repayment of that money. A judge has questioned how former President Zuma will live if his entire pension benefit is attached to repay the 29 million, which were unlawfully used to fund. How is Mr. Zuma going to live? He's elderly. He's in his 80s. Judge Anthony Miller asked advocate Sean Rosenberg, who's representing the DA in the court. I really don't care. Do you think that Jacob Zuma pays for anything now? He doesn't pay for a damn thing. People pay to take care of him, keep him living in luxury. Attach his pension. He doesn't even need it. He owes the government. Attach in Kanla. Confiscate in Kanla. That's what you should do. Confiscate in Kanla. The Supreme Court of Appeal ordered the state attorney to quantify exactly how much taxpayer money had been spent on legal fees. The DA has also applied for an order in the absence of any other form of repayment by Mr. Zuma of his debt to the state for his legal expenses. In reference to this, Miller said an order for the attachment of Zuma's entire pension was effectively an order to impoverish Mr. Zuma. It's punitive, and no other debtor in the country is ever subjected to such a thing. So whatever the merits and the amounts may be, it's just something which I think we must be mindful of. Okay, then you leave him a small portion that's a stipend to survive on. Or you confiscate in Kanla, take the proceeds of it, give him a settlement, keep the rest for the government. He's just playing dumb, exactly. Zuma has the money. I can't believe the judge actually cares about it. This is ridiculous. The presidency is a perpetrator. Jacob Zuma pleads innocence. This clown says he's a victim and an innocent recipient of $28 million. Oh, he's innocent. Oh, okay. They just gave you the money and you weren't entitled to it and you didn't stop it. You're just innocent. Counsel for former President Jacob Zuma has argued that the former head of state was not responsible for the unlawful government payments it made towards his legal fees and should therefore not be compelled to repay the millions in question. Zuma's counsel advocate Tabani Masuku told the High Court that he is estranged the presidency and the state attorney who previously defended the funding of Zuma. Thank you for your membership, Voroshka. Thought, how about Zuma goes live in jail? They won't have to worry about his expenses. He can go to jail where he belongs. Today, they're asking Mr. Zuma to be saddled with $28 million on the premise that to do so is to vindicate the rule of law. What law are you vindicating? Mr. Zuma is a victim of unconstitutional violence. Unconstitutional violence? The defenses we have raised are the context of that bait. What unconstitutional violence? Zuma is a victim of unconstitutional... From what? This is just nonsense. Be done with this. You know, maybe you should consider putting the lawyers in jail, too, for being scumbags. Gate McKenzie's Patriotic Alliance steals award from the ANC in Soweto. And there's the gentleman who won it. There you go, newly elected ward councillor. He'll serve for about a year and then the election. Well, Lou Liebenberg's not paying for anybody's legal fees. He's in prison. He may have done in the past. A second pilot from a crash after that fog popped up in the Midlands of South Africa has been found dead. Pilot of the second aircraft, which went missing on Wednesday in KZN Midlands, has been found dead. Provincial Transport and Human Settlements MEC Siboniso Duma said at 7:20 this morning his office received a report from the Aeronautical Search and Rescue Coordination Center and SAP Search and Rescue Unit indicating they had found the second aircraft. Unfortunately, the second pilot suffered fatal injuries. We express our deepest condolences to the families of the two pilots. We will allow the team to retrieve the bodies of the two pilots this morning. Heavy fog engulfed the area where the aircraft were flying from Joburg to Margate on the KZN South Coast. The Accidents and Investigations Division has launched an investigation. Sad to hear. Rest in peace. Ramaphosa has suspended the Inspector General of the Intelligence, Imitaz Fazel, after a complaint. In a statement on Wednesday evening, the presidency spokesman Vincent Mangwenya said Fazel was suspended pending investigation into his conduct by the Parliament's Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. The committee has informed the president that it has received a complaint on the conduct of him. Oh, so all you got to do is complain and you get somebody suspended. What did he do? What did he do? There's no mention of what he did here. So you just file a complaint and you get somebody taken out? IMTS. No, I'm not saying IMTS. I'm saying Imitaz. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this one's for Hendo, who I noticed is quiet in the chat. I wonder if he ran off to go watch that Victoria's Secret. A new area of inclusivity highlights the 2025 Victoria's Secret fashion show. Inclusivity. No, it was an era of beauty. And there's Candace Swanepoel, looking rather fit and trim, wearing very little at the catwalk. Last night's Victoria's Secret fashion show was a dazzling, high-energy event that proved the brand and successor returned to its roots of high-octane glamour while embracing a new, vital chapter of inclusivity. No one cares about your promotion of anti-white bullshit. It was a good show. Leave it at that. Nonsense. Nonsense. A viral post falsely claims that Coca-Cola fired foreign drivers. A widely shared Twitter post falsely alleged that Coca-Cola South Africa dismissed more than 600 foreign drivers to hire South Africans. In reality, the company is only at the consultation stage of a lawful restructuring process. It's mostly going to affect cleaners, not drivers. Well, hang on. If you stay for the whole broadcast, you will hear about 6,000 drivers have been fired. Not in South Africa. Foreigners. In America. Because they're driving semis and they don't speak English and they can't read road signs. Endangering public safety. Well, the domestic terrorists have been given a raise. Schwane commits to worker salary increases as union threatens G20 summit action. Instead of capitulating to these domestic terrorists, they should be rounded up and charged with crimes. The City of Schwane's Finance MMC, Eugene Modisi, has assured municipal workers that they will honor the outstanding 3.5 salary increase agreed upon with labor unions. Well, you better honor it. You agreed to it. But threatening to disrupt the G20 over a domestic labor dispute is nothing but domestic terrorism. Police are launching an inquiry after bottles of medication were found at that Limpopo crash site that claimed 43 lives. Look at all that stuff. Now, bear in mind that people are going home to Malawi and to Zimbabwe. Probably you can't even get medication. I have no idea what that medication is, but I suspect someone probably bought tons of it in South Africa to sell and make a profit. They're probably making a living from it. Limpopo police have launched an inquiry after bottles of what appear to be medication were discovered at the site of Saturday's horrific bus crash that claimed 43 lives. Provincial Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Tembi Hadebe confirmed an inquiry had been opened at the Makondo police station to determine the origin and legality of the medication found scattered among the wreckage. Bron, what's up? Welcome to the program. South Africa's largest landlord throws its weight behind the Cape Winelands airport project. Interesting. Victorian Alfred Waterfront co-owner Growth Point is throwing its money and expertise behind the new Cape Winelands airport. South Africa's largest landlord will provide its expertise in managing the hospitality around an airport expected to create tens of thousands of jobs. We'll see. Growth Point is expected to bring a green thumb to an airport that may begin operating in 2028. Well, I will land there if it happens. Yep. The move by Growth Point, which has assets of 156 billion rand across office, retail, and logistics properties, doesn't include the terminal buildings, but it will add its deep experience in large-scale mixed-use and tourism-led precincts to a project that aims to ultimately sustain 100,000 jobs. Well, we shall see. But there's where the Cape Winelands airfield is going to be. Yep. North of Stellenbosch, northeast of Durbanville. So we'll see. We will see what happens. Cape Winelands could be major developments. Dr. Naledi Pandor, Jabba the Hutt, says that women should champion peace efforts in Palestine. Does this woman, is she so desperate for... Yes, I know Rob Herself is an investor in that airport. I'm well aware of that, awkward, Leon. But I'm not talking about Rob right now. Former Minister of National Relations, Dr. Naledi Pandor, has called on women to join the fight against the ongoing humanitarian crisis plaguing the people of Palestine and other regions of the world. I'm sorry. Hello, Naledi Pandor. I'm sorry. This is from 2 days ago, but 2 days ago, peace was achieved. Naledi Pandor, I'm sorry. Hello. Are you listening? The war is over in Gaza, at least for the moment. Your friends in Hamas are busy executing innocent civilians, shooting them in public executions, and attacking neighborhoods for people that oppose their criminal regime. So, Naledi Pandor, maybe you need to pay attention to what's actually going on. Some people should just wear signs. Some people should wear signs. Australia will build 4,000 missiles a year under a U.S. partnership. Hundreds of the weapons would start production before the end of the year will be retained for use by the Australian Defence Force. Wow. Australia and the United States are to begin joint manufacture of guided weapons, including strike missiles, in a new local manufacturing facility in Newcastle. Facility in Williamstown near the RAAF base is estimated to have capacity to produce 4,000 units per year. Minister of Defense Industry Pat Conroy said the facility, which will be operated in a partnership between Australia, the Department of War, and defense giant Lockheed Martin, should be operational by the end of this year. It'll begin making guided precision launch rocket systems and precision strike missiles, the maximum range of 500 kilometers. Wow, congratulations. Debbie Lutz, thank you for your membership. Appreciate that. Thanks for joining. All righty. Queensland has decided that they're going to abandon their targets for the green energy unicorn effort. Queensland LNP tables bill to scrap 70 to 80% renewable targets. They've also axed several energy advisory bodies established under the previous government. The Queensland LNP government has moved quickly to take its first official step towards repealing the state's renewable targets while axing a swath of energy advisory bodies. On October 16th, Energy Minister David Janetski tabled the Energy Roadmap Amendment Bill of 2025. The amendment locks in several initiatives outlined in the Queensland Energy Roadmap released last week. No solar panels on prime farmland is a sign saying they're against it. Well, it looks like even in Australia, which is uber woke, people are turning against the green energy fantasy. China's rare earth sabotage. The restrictions aim to beat the U.S. at its own game. Beijing's latest effort to weaponize global supply chains is modeled on the American technology controls that is long criticized. Over the past 3 years, Washington has claimed broad power to impose global rules that bar companies anywhere in the world from sending cutting-edge computer chips or the tools needed to make them to China. American officials argue that approach is necessary to make sure China does not gain the upper hand in the race for advanced artificial intelligence. But the Chinese are flexing their own muscle on this, and supply chains and for rare earths. We've talked about that before, threatening global economic progress. Whoops, C-130 flying over my house right now. Air National Guard C-130 flying over my house. China's own immigration backlash. It's not just Americans and South Africans and Brits and French and Germans who are angry about immigration. The response for a new visa for skilled workers has caught even the Chinese government by surprise. Look at that. China is not ready for an influx of foreigners. In the race for global talent, it often can appear that China is gaining ground in the U.S. While President Trump cuts research funding for universities, China is pouring money into science. The number of high-profile scholars who have left the U.S. for China is growing. Chinese students who once dreamed of an American education are now choosing to stay home. So when China introduced a new type of visa called the K visa for young science and technology workers, just as Trump administration introduced steep new fees for highly skilled worker visas, many around the world saw it as another way that China may be pulling ahead in the economic rivalry. Then came the backlash. The response to K visa seems to have caught even the Chinese government by surprise. It helps illustrate why predictions that China is on the verge of becoming the next global talent hub may be premature. As news of the visa spread across China's social media, the dominant reaction was not celebration, but horror. High-profile commentators worried that China would become a country of immigrants, not, in their eyes, a good thing. Ooh. Racist and xenophobic comments spread furiously, especially about Indians who make up a significant share of the high-tech workforce in the U.S. Others worried that visa would worsen already record-high youth unemployment. China has virtually no history of inbound immigration. Foreigners provoke a range of reactions, including curiosity, suspicion, influenced by geopolitical tensions between the country and the West. And also, let's just be honest, the Chinese are, by and large, overwhelmingly racist, particularly against Africans. Yes, I'm not too excited. Marco Rubio correctly rejects an idiotic United Nations call for a global carbon tax on shipping. It would raise international shipping costs by 10% or more. The United States strongly opposes a tax on greenhouse gas emissions in international shipping proposed by the United Nations International Maritime Organization. This week, the UN is attempting to pass the first global carbon tax, which will increase energy, food, and fuel costs across the world. We will not allow the United Nations to tax American citizens and companies. The net zero framework is a set of international regulations aimed at cutting down emissions from ships. Now, I've said this before that global shipping contributes at least 3% of the greenhouse gas emissions that they're complaining about. Virtually none of that shipping is under the U.S. flag. Most of it's under flags of convenience in places like Liberia and other places. So it's not our shipping, but the world benefits from the shipping, as does the United States. What about tomahawks, folks? Trump is threatening to give tomahawks to Ukraine. That's crazy. A new version of ground-based tomahawk was prototyped by the Army back in 2023 and was deployed to the Philippines this year. Famously known as being fired from ships at sea and submarines. President Donald Trump is considering sending Ukraine the Tomahawk cruise missile platform for use in its war with Russia. It's been a key part of the U.S. arsenal for decades, and several capabilities can make it pivotal to Ukraine defense efforts. It's been used in every conflict since 1991. Yep. It's been used 2,300 times in combat. Wow, that's a lot. And it is nuclear capable. We're not allowing that. But the range of this could threaten Western Europe if it falls in the hands of Russians or if the Ukrainians turn on Europe. Tomahawk has an effective range of 775 to 1,500 miles, depending on the variant and the payload. The ATACMS, the short-range ballistic missile given to Ukraine, has a maximum range of 190 miles. So, there you go. Are we going to give it to them? I hope not. Not a wise move. Sweden has begun stockpiling food, preparing for the apocalypse. Wow. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen said that there's been a worrisome pattern of growing threats to European security, and the Swedes are preparing for Armageddon. The Swedish Board of Agriculture will set up emergency stocks of grains and agricultural inputs to ensure that citizens have access to sufficient safe food in the event of serious crises and an extreme war. Wow. The government has allocated funds for the Swedish Board of Agriculture to establish emergency stocks of grain for food consumption throughout the country during 2026 to 2028. That's interesting. Interesting. Sweden is preparing for the apocalypse. Nestle will cut 16,000 jobs in an effort to revive its prosperity. New CEO also said to review coffee to pet food giant's sprawling brand portfolio. Nestle said it would cut 16,000 jobs, take a fresh look at exiting some of its 2,000 plus brands, part of a sweeping restructuring under new chief executive Philip Navratil, aimed at reviving the consumer product giant's fortunes. Nestle shares dumped 8% after the announcement, putting them in course for the biggest single-day percentage since 2008. Layoffs announced Thursday equate to 6% of the company's 277,000-strong workforce. The maker of Nescafe Coffee, Purina Pet Food, is dismissing its previous CEO, Laurent Frexy, over undisclosed romantic relationship with a direct subordinate who breached the company's code of conduct. Wow. So, Nestle, which has too many brands, is looking at streamlining. So here's a potential for people who want to get into many product lines that are well established, and you can get them hopefully for a song. We'll see. We'll see. British Prime Minister publishes a list of witness statements detailing the Chinese Communist Party's large-scale espionage in the United Kingdom. Sir Keir said China presents the biggest state-based threat to the UK's economic security. Well, actually, Matt Collins said that. Sorry, not Sir Keir. Witness statements published on October 15 after Prime Minister Keir Starmer agreed to release evidence submitted by the government in now collapsed case revealed details of the Chinese Communist Party's espionage operations inside the United Kingdom. The case against Christopher Cash, 30, a former parliamentary researcher for the Conservative Party, and Christopher Berry, 33, a teacher, collapsed when prosecutor Tom Little said the case no longer met the evidential threshold. Both men pled not guilty and have continued to deny all allegations. Well, people are spying for China. Whether they were or not, I don't know. Donald Trump has decided to double the money we're giving to Argentina to $40 billion with peso purchases and private debt facility. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the U.S. aid would be policy specific and determined by the results of Argentina's upcoming midterm election results. The United States purchased additional Argentine pesos on open markets Wednesday. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said while pressing forward on a $20 billion private investment pool aimed at Argentine government bonds. The move builds on a fresh $20 billion currency swap agreement with Buenos Aires, delivering $40 billion overall backing for the region's third largest economy. Wow. The developments helped lift Argentine equities from a slump triggered by Trump's remarks a day prior that Washington would avoid wasting time in Argentina should Javier Milei's La Libertad Avanza lose the congressional election. I love it. U.S. Special Forces helicopters near Venezuela have expanded their mission in the Caribbean. Elite Task Force 160 Special Operations Regiment appears to have flown within 90 miles of Venezuela. There they are with the Hughes MH-6 Little Birds, famous for Mogadishu, of course. U.S. military's Elite Special Operations Aviation Unit appears to have flown in Caribbean waters less than 90 miles from the coast of Venezuela in recent days. Struck at least 5 boats so far. And the CIA is going in to do covert operations on the ground in Venezuela. Well, visuals that circulated on social media in early October appear to show MH-6 Little Bird attack helicopters and MH-60 Blackhawks over open water near oil and gas platforms. A visual analysis of the platform's invisible terrain indicates the helicopters flying off Trinidad's northeast coast, bringing them within 90 miles of several points along Venezuela's coastline. Wow. Interesting. Canadian U.S. intelligence agencies have warned tech startups of exploitation by China. Director of Canadian Security Intelligence Services, CSIS, Daniel Rogers, left a meeting with the National Security Council in Ottawa. That's back in June. Canadian U.S. intelligence partners have issued a warning to Western technology startups of potential exploitation in pitch competitions organized by Chinese regime entities. Canadian Security Intelligence Service and U.S. intelligence partners issued a bulletin on September 4th to advise technology startups that while international pitch competitions can provide exposure and funding, they lead to exploitation by foreign entities looking to acquire Western innovation and skills for economic and military advantage. Be careful out there. Trump signed an executive order, again, this time putting restrictions on federal hiring. No federal civil position that is vacant may be filled and no new position may be created, the order says, while we're in the lockdown. I wonder if that's going to be a hiring freeze for good. In the order released by White House agencies, will be mandated to form strategic hiring committees that include some of the administration's appointees to make sure the Trump administration's priorities are being met. Wow. So we'll see what happens there. It's a hiring freeze. Well, the Pentagon is blocking out news agencies who are throwing their toys out of the pram because they don't want to agree to the rules. Wednesday was a major moment for the coverage of the United States military. Scores of journalists with access to the Pentagon handed their press passes rather than sign on to new rules laid out by Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. No, I'm sorry, New York Times. It's the Secretary of War. And the title is, see, look at this. Look at this. The Secretary of Defense. No. Secretary of Defense is a formal title, and it's capitalized, and it's not Secretary of Defense. It's Secretary of War. So I don't really care for the Defense Department to be renamed Secretary of the War Department, but that's what the name is. This is just another example of leftist turds, Eric Wemple this time, refusing to, I don't know if he's leftist, so he's right, I don't know what he is, but refusing to admit the truth. Now, I don't know if his editors forced him to put that in lowercase, but it's a proper title. Learn how to use the English language. President, colonel, lieutenant, sergeant, director, CEO, these are capitalized. Secretary of Defense is capitalized. Member of Parliament is capitalized. News organizations refuse to agree to the rules include large ones like the New York Slimes, NBC News, Fox News, including many smaller. The new rules codify sharp limitations on access and raise the prospect of punishment, including revocation of credentials. Well, your credentials have always been subject to revocation. Do you think that's new? For simply requesting information on matters of public interest. Lawyers representing national news organizations have been negotiating for weeks with the Pentagon over the strictures. The new rules are a stark departure in length and scope from the previous guidelines. Security awareness briefing for media members. Implementation new media. The new press passes will have press clearly imprinted in them red letters, both vertically and horizontally, to assist in identifying members of the press within the Pentagon. Okay, what's wrong with that? That bothers them? So the Pentagon has framed the new restrictions outlined as was an important step toward preventing leaks that damage operational security and national security. Media outlets see an attempt to curb First Amendment protections and question the policies of premises. Our members did nothing to create this disturbing situation, reads a statement from an association representing. That's simply untrue. I've already revealed today how the New York Times has disclosed classified information regarding the CIA covert operations in Venezuela. That's a violation of U.S. Espionage Act. They have obtained that information illicitly. They violated federal law. So they're a threat to national security. They're not media. They're not media. Exactly, Dirk. Now the Pentagon staff can focus on the work and not worry about talking to shifty journalists. I'll say that word. The Trump team plans to use the IRS to overhaul them to enable the pursuit of left-leaning groups. The effort would install Trump allied agencies' criminal unit, which has drawn up a list of investigative targets. So I will not say that I agree this is a good idea. We shouldn't use the power of the government to punish people unless they're miscreants. But the Democrats under Obama used the IRS to punish nonprofits. They destroyed the Tea Party movement by denying them tax-exempt status while giving it to leftist organizations that are just, violating the law. They attacked they attacked conservatives. They did unwarranted audits and wasted people's times and cost them tens of thousands of dollars defending themselves when they committed no crime, individually targeting conservatives during the Obama administration. That's what they did. Sounds like that's what Trump wants to do to the left. Neither is right, but the left will be silent on us and will cry, Trump, 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 forgetting that the left did that to the right under Obama and under Biden. Neither are right, but let's put it all in perspective here. Treasury spokesperson said Scott Bessent's team at the IRS is bringing the best of America's private sector practice organization to the agency. The team's focus remains collections, privacy, and customer service. Trump previously said on Truth Social that George Soros and his son Alex should face federal charges under the RICO Act and added in a separate interview that the elder Soros should be in jail without offering specific reasons. Well, I'll give you specific reasons. I'll give you specific reasons. Interference in federal elections. Undue affluence, funneling money to candidates, particularly district attorneys around this country. Yeah, there's some reasons right there. You want reasons? I'll give you reasons. New English exam sidelines 6,000 truckers. Yeah, well, that's going to affect delivery of goods and services, testing U.S. supply chain. The Trump administration withheld $40 million in funding for California, saying the state was not enforcing a language requirement for long-haul truckers. No, and it leads to death and carnage on our highways. Eli Sola recently added an element to his classes for would-be commercial truck drivers, a mock roadside English proficiency test. How many hours have you driven? Where is this load going? He asked the Spanish-speaking students while pretending to be a police officer. Sola, who runs a Miami-based commercial driving school, wants his students to avoid the fate of thousands of commercial truckers who failed roadside English proficiency tests. Between June 1st and Monday, about 6,000 truckers were pulled off the road for English language proficiency violations, according to the Washington Post. On Wednesday, the Transportation Department announced it would withhold $40 million in funding from California, accusing the state of failing to comply with a new English proficiency requirement. California is the only state in the nation that refuses to ensure big rig drivers can read our road signs and communicate with law enforcement, said Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. The new rules were put in place in May by Duffy. Agency has said the test is needed to keep the roads safe, pointing to an August collision in Florida in which a commercial driver, Harinder Singh, allegedly we saw the video, made an illegal U-turn resulting in the death of 3 people. After the crash, Singh, 28, who was born in India, failed an English language proficiency assessment, answering only 2 of 12 questions correctly, according to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which launched the investigation. Singh, who is charged with 3 counts of vehicular homicide, has pled not guilty. Dude, I saw the video. You're guilty as sin. You're guilty as sin. Americans are a lot safer on roads alongside truckers who can understand and interpret our traffic signs, said Duffy. But analysts said that there's no data showing a correlation between English proficiency and accidents involving commercial truck drivers. So what? So what? People shouldn't be driving on our roads in big rigs which are dangerous if they can't speak our language and read our road signs, whether they're causing more accidents or not. They have no business. Why are Indians driving semis in America? We have Americans. And lots of Mexicans and Venezuela. Why do we need Indians here to do that? I thought they were here to fix the computers. Sound like a comedian now. Yeah. Wow. And industry leaders are concerned about a potential worker shortage if too many drivers are pulled from the roads. Well, I don't really care. I don't care. I don't care if I can't get my package from Amazon for another 3 days because they had to wait. Or I have to wait a couple days to get, sweet corn in the grocery store. Get these dangerous people off the roads. And if they don't speak English, get them out of the country. Shouldn't be working if you can't do the task. Some advocates worry that Latino drivers, who make up 15% of the industry, will be unfairly targeted by officers administering the test and say they want more details. Oh, shut up. Shut your cake hole. By the way, Latinos are 15% of the industry. Latinos make up 18% of the population, so they're underrepresented amongst truck drivers. And you're worried about they're going to be singled out? Oh, shut up. Jeez. Since June, thousands of commercial drivers have been pulled from the road after failing English proficiency exam. These are the top 10 states where commercial drivers were pulled from the road from June 1st till October 13th. Texas, with well over 500. 596, Wyoming 467, Tennessee 379, Arizona 345, Arkansas 319, Colorado 279, Iowa 254, Florida 238, Missouri 217, and Georgia 173. And listen to these leftist hate wankers. I'm sure they're leftists. Maybe they're not, but they're stupid people. English proficiency is such a subjective standard, said Brandon Wiseman. No, it's not. A stop sign is a stop sign. A yield sign is a yield sign. Weight limits are weight limits. It's not subjective. You're such an ass, Brandon Wiseman. What one officer might think is proficient, another officer down the road might think is not proficient. That makes it tough. Nope. Learn English. Doesn't make it tough at all. Most drivers who don't speak fluent English, are able to rely on GPS to safely navigate the roads, said David Sanchez, a 28-year-old driver based in Fort Worth. Sanchez was born in California but grew up in Mexico, where he learned English in high school after his family returned to the United States, and frequently practices with his wife, a native English speaker. But said so he's an American, doesn't even speak English. Worries about older drivers who may have a harder time adapting. A big chunk of the industry is made up of Latino drivers who work really hard and safely. No, it isn't. 15% is not a big chunk, David. I'm sorry. A lot of young people are going to learn English pretty quick, but their older drivers have been trucking for a long time. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear that bullshit either. I learned languages in my 40s. So stop the nonsense. And I wasn't immersed. I was working with American English speakers all day and still learn languages. Stupid people. Well, according to the New York Slimes, Trump is naming more foes he wants to go after. They're upset that Trump wants to go after the foes. But what did they do to Trump? Rashida Tlaib campaigned on, we're going to get Trump. Letitia James campaigned on one issue, I will get Trump. Alvin Bragg made his bones, I will get Trump. Fannie Willis, who committed all kinds of fraud, according to Georgia authorities, went after Donald Trump. Jack Smith was illegally appointed under the special counsel statute, which was violated by the Department of Justice, and illegally spied on Trump and then planted top secret documents at the Mar-a-Lago residence to get an indictment against Trump. Planted the evidence. Why isn't he in prison? Why is he not in prison? Why is the Department of Justice officials who did that not in prison? They went after Trump with a vigor and made up all this stuff. None of it's true. It's all fiction. At least they've committed crimes, the people Trump is going after, and they're worried about it. Top officials unwilling to fight for the independence of their institutions watched on Wednesday as Trump continues his pursuit of controlling law enforcement. No, Trump is seeking justice. Sorry, Glenn Thrush, you're wrong. The nation's three most powerful law enforcement officials, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her top deputy Todd Blanche, along with Kash Patel, padded into the White House for a public show of unity to herald some recent successes. They left about an hour later after President Trump tossed out offhandedly three names of people he wanted prosecuted: Jack Smith, Andrew Weissman, and Lisa Monaco. Deranged Jack Smith, in my opinion, is a criminal. Yep. His interviewer was Weissman. I hope they're going to look into Weissman too. Yep. Good. Good. Trump has a right to be angry at these people and seek justice against these criminals. Well, as he views them, criminals. Data centers are on the rise in America, and they suck up a lot of juice. Look at that building with all those panels on top of it. AI data centers desperate for electricity are building their own power plants, bypassing the grid, temporarily anyway. In West Texas, natural gas-fired power generation is under construction as part of a $500 billion Stargate project from OpenAI and Oracle. Gas turbines are in use in Colossus 1 and 2, massive data centers from Elon Musk's XAI building in Memphis, more than a dozen Equinox data centers across the country using fuel cells for power. They need juice and lots of it. The share of electricity consumed by data centers, 26% of electricity in Virginia is used by data centers. Of course, that was the home of America Online. 26%. North Dakota, what's the rate in North Dakota? Does it tell me? No, it doesn't, but it's high as well. Over 20%, over 15%. Yeah, look at that. Lots of energy, lots of energy. So the green revolution isn't quite paying off the way they want because energy consumption is soaring thanks to computing. U.S. Army plans to power their own bases with small nuclear reactors. Small modular reactors are a fantastic idea for military bases. Fantastic. We have bases with 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 45,000 troops on them and family. We should be using small modular reactors. Yep. There you go. Army said that reliable energy is critical for conducting global operations, provide powered installations for their networks, weapon systems, command nodes used for coordinating military operations. Project Pele. Yep. The Department of Energy laboratory teams who worked on Pele will also be working closely with Janus. Janus program is what the Army is coming up with. So there you go. By leveraging Army's program management oversight capabilities with the accomplishments of Project Pele, the U.S. Army is ready to move forward at lightning speed to make next-generation nuclear power a reality. Awesome. Awesome. I can't wait to see Army bases powered by nuclear small modular reactors. It's long overdue. TiVo. Remember TiVo? Some people, unfortunately, have to give up on TiVo as it finally stops making digital video recorders. They created the industry. The iconic rewarding voice revolutionized TV viewing, but most consumers moved on long ago. Amy Sugars bought her first TiVo 14 years ago and has been attached to the video recording device ever since, but this month brought a double blow. First, TiVo announced it would no longer sell its physical DVR products, and a few days later, her device died. I hung on as long as I could. I would have hung on longer if TiVo hadn't taken the decision out of my hands, said the 65-year-old biology professor and owner of a pet sitting business in Delaware, Ohio. But like Netflix's DVD rental business, TiVo helped revolutionize how viewers watch cable television when it launched in 1999. People could record shows, customize their program, guide to see only the channels they cared for, and skip commercials, much to the disdain of advertisers and network TV. The device and its badoop remote control sound wedged into its pop culture with references to TiVo on episodes of shows like Sex and the City, The Simpsons, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yep. In a recent reboot of The Naked Gun, Liam Neeson's character loses control after he discovers Pamela Anderson's character connected his TiVo to the internet, wiping saved episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from the device. TiVo even became a verb. People remarked that they TiVo a show rather than record it, or rather than watching when it was on. Yep, there you go, folks. We are very proud of the TiVo DVR legacy, the company said, but it stopped selling its physical products on the 1st of October. So what is TiVo now? Scott Moore, 64-year-old network engineer at a bank, has been a loyal TiVo user for 22 years. He plans to use his device until the bitter end and isn't sure what he'll do when his current devices stop working. Yeah, TiVo is pretty amazing. I miss it. It's really the best consumer product ever, except maybe Roku, said Brent. When it goes away, I won't hold a grudge. Yep, TiVo's been amazing. Sad to see it go. And I also I had TiVo from the very beginning, and then they started selling their own branded DVRs for DirecTV and for cable companies, getting into the marketplace, pushing TiVo out, who created the market. And Roku. No one's really replaced Roku yet, but Roku has its challenges. Trump condemns the lack of jail time for the people who assaulted the Doge staffer. President Trump and other administration officials criticized the lack of jail time for teenagers admitted to assaulting a federal worker. That's terrible, Trump said in response to a question. The judge should be ashamed of themselves. Edward Constantine, 19, was assaulted by multiple people in Washington, D.C. on August 4th. Trump condemned this all the time and sent the National Guard to boost public safety. 15-year-olds who did it pled guilty to assaulting him, and they've not been publicly identified. Wow. So they just get to beat up a guy in the street. No consequence. America's favorite apple is a farmer's nightmare. The Honeycrisp iconic crunch transformed the industry, but the people who grow the finicky fruit say she's an absolute devil. It was a sound before it was a taste, a sharp, explosive crunch. When David Bedford took his first bite of the mystery apple in 1988, he knew he found gold. That syrupy, sweet, and shockingly crisp fruit came from an unremarkable sapling that Bedford, then a graduate student, had rescued from the discard pile of the University of Minnesota's breeding program. But the apple had problems. It was too big, too fragile, and a magnet for disease. The farmers who sampled it were quick to dismiss the finicky tree. They said, "Oh, it's a nightmare. We'll never grow that." 30 years later, that apple, now named Honeycrisp, dominates the American market. Consumers bored by the softer, blander, red, delicious variety that had ruled grocery aisles for decades discovered an apple that was sweet and so texturally satisfying they never looked back. Buyers could even stomach a premium price, often 3 times the cost of other varieties. And there's the varieties of American apples sold: Golden Delicious, Gala, Granny Smith, Fuji, and Red Delicious. But if consumers are charmed by the supermarket star, the farmers who grow it, especially America's apple-growing capital of Washington State, often wish they never met it. She's a diva, an absolute diva, fourth-generation Washington apple farmer Kate Thornton said in a Honeycrisp. Thornton's family has been farming in the same valley 20 minutes south of the Canadian border for nearly a century, and their yearly Honeycrisp crop is painstaking. It's a painstaking ordeal. The same qualities that make the variety so delicious leave farmers griping. And there's Kate, and I assume that's her father. Ooh, is Kate going to be one of Victoria's Secret models? Better keep her away from Hendo. She's a cutie. It's thin-skinned and easily punctured by its own stem, which means workers must hand-clip the fruit from the tree, cutting productivity in half. The tree tends to produce more apples than it can handle, so growers must thin the fruit, and the Thorntons spray the trees frequently to treat endemic calcium deficiency. And to coax the apple in developing its signature red-pink hue, workers lay out sheets of reflective material by hand. Even a healthy apple is susceptible to a bitter pit, a disorder that marks a skip with black spotches and ruins the fruit's flesh. Well, there you go. So tough to deal with, but you sell it for 3 times the price. Here, workers are picking Honeycrisp apples during a harvest in Washington State. There you go. Apples, 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 apples. Well, folks, you've heard me complain about it many, many times. By the way, how many people are actually watching this program? This is not up to date. Yeah, 474. And 1 super chat's come in. So you've heard me complain about it many, many times when I travel about the people who think they're on the beach in a recliner and they decide that they're going to invade your space, invade my space on a flight with my long legs, crushing my knees and causing injury to me more than once. Disrespectful, rude turd balls on flights. And if that's you, if I hurt your feelings, too bad. You're very disrespectful, especially for a 17-hour flight. The rules of reclining, according to 7 Frequent Flyers. We asked expert travelers to pick sides in one of flying's great debates. During a recent trip to Spain, Bruce Poon-Tip hopped on a quick flight to Mallorca on the budget airline Ryanair. The time the air was short, but 2 passengers quickly got into a loud disagreement. Someone had reclined their seat into another person's space, and they weren't having it. My Spanish is weak at best, but I could get the gist of what they were saying. I paid for my seat, and I have some respect for other people, Poon-Tip said. The offended party was exceptionally tall with very long legs. Like screaming babies, armrest battles, and tuna salad for a mid-flight snack, the question of whether reclining is bad form sparks debate among anyone who spends time in economy. Social media rants, furniture ad campaigns, and comedy routines have been devoted to the subject. There are etiquette guides galore. A new cabin configuration on some planes entering the fleet of Canadian airline WestJet made headlines for this because only some of the seats have the ability to recline, and they cost extra. The rest are described as having fixed recline. Thank you. While pointing fingers at each other, many flyers direct their wrath at the airline industry for eating away at legroom. The airlines, to be clear, bear a lot of responsibility for this with how tight the economy seating layouts have become. So is it ever okay to recline? We surveyed 7 frequent flyers and attempted to conduct a healthy debate. All agreed no one should recline during meal service. After that, opinions ran the gamut. And I will just settle this debate right now. It is never appropriate to recline in economy. Never appropriate. It's disrespectful and rude and harmful. Don Broussard, a content creator based in Houston who works in finance, said he's flown at least 50 different airlines around the world. So have I. He has a firm anti-recline stance. He doesn't do it. He doesn't like when people in front of him do it, and he hasn't even found it comfortable when he's tried it. It didn't help at all. I feel like it created more discomfort. I'm crammed in my lower half, and it creates this weird position at the top. Broussard, who's just under 6 feet tall, said he would prefer airlines invest in giving travelers more legroom. He could do without the recline option altogether. They need to get rid of it. I personally don't see the benefit of it. At 7 feet tall, New York City-based stand-up comedian Liam Nelson, also doesn't find reclining helpful enough to be worth fighting about when he flies most weekends. He only does it if no one sits behind him or if a passenger clearly wouldn't need the space. Instead, he tries to lean forward on a tray, angle against a window, or slump in a seat, ideally an exit row. Yep, there you go. So I won't go on with that, but there you go. All right. Spotted lanternflies have invaded America, an invasive species, and they're threatening our wine industry. A native of Asia, the invasive species were spotted on the east coast of the United States a decade ago, and they could reach California by 2033. If you need another reason to crush those spotted lanternflies, here's one that might hit close to home. They're threatening your wine. The spotted insects develop a taste for grapevines, their favorite host after the tree of heaven. The invasive species native to China, India, Vietnam was first reported in the U.S. in 2014. Has become an agricultural pest in the Northeast, where it threatens Virginia's $8 billion wine industry. It's bigger than South Africa's. 19 states are grappling with infestations, a further spread being reported in neighboring states. Look at Pennsylvania, just blanketed with them. I kill these little bastards all the time. They're annoying. Grapes were the top non-citrus crop, valued at $6.2 billion according to the Department of Agriculture. More than 70% of American grapes are used to make wine. The rest are consumed as fruit, raisins, juice, and other byproducts. Once it was in Pennsylvania, I knew it was unlikely that they would eradicate it. Yep. Says Doug Pfeiffer, a fruit entomologist and professor at Virginia Tech. We found the eggs. We found dead adults. So it was probably there for at least a year in Pennsylvania. Yep. So, where grapes are grown in the U.S. This is where grapes are grown. Acres of fruit-bearing grapevines. Look at that. States with spotted lanternflies. Almost the entire East Coast has them. They're nasty little bastards. Likelihood to spread by 2033. That's what they think is going to happen. Wow. Oof, that's crazy. You see them, wipe them out. I crush them all the time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, represents a rather long news broadcast for today. 450 of you still here. I appreciate your patience and sticking with me here. And my caterwallering earlier. Appreciate that. Yep. So be sure to hit the like button. Don't run off and go anywhere. Depends on what you expect from a machine. It can be very helpful. Only recline if the person behind me does the same, but I still ask. Exactly, Paul. I rarely recline, and sometimes I have no choice but to do it because literally the seat in front of me is right here, this close. They recline this close. I'm sitting upright, and it's this close to my face. I mean, that's unacceptable. You can't be expected to fly for hours at a time with someone that close in your face. And it's usually the people they have no respect whatsoever. They don't even ask you. They just push a button and slam right back. I've injured my knees on several occasions when assholes do that. I've also had my food dumped on me. I've had a shirt ruined because they've done that. It's ridiculous. Yes, Colonel Cookie, refugees should add to society, not make it worse. You're correct. Business Tech reports enforcement BE laws titled Government Coming After Business in South Africa. Well, yeah, there's more racism right there. Yep. Yeah, some people recline after takeoff and only lift it when landing. And I can't even stand up. And especially now with my hip. It's impossible for me to get up when these jerk-offs lower their seat in a position. And it's like this. And I'm here. And I can't stand because standing up, I have to come up, my body hits the seat. So anymore, I don't care. If they do it, I just get up and I just bang right into the damn seat. And I hope it disturbs them because they're jerks. They're just jerks. I've always thought the reclining seats is super dumb. I agree with you. Have a good evening. Take care, Buster B. You see that? It's pressing all the buttons. It's like telling me it's computer error. What else we got here in the chat? They need their signs. Yeah, they do need their signs. Today I sometimes sit and wonder, why do folks want to be free when they've done nothing with their freedom for 32 years? That's a good question, Buster B. OpenAI alone will be getting 10 gigawatts of power. Gee, many crickets. That's a lot of power. You're watching Santa. Hey, Buster. Okay. Even when listening to radio communications while sailing, people speak English. The Indian accent is unmistakable. They still speak. Yes. Aviation. Internet. commerce, space, science, English. Yeah, how do they talk to people to pick up, drop it? They don't. They just get handed paperwork. Or someone speaks the language where they're at, is good at staying in key. Oh, I can't sing now. When you immigrate to English-speaking countries, you have to do an English test. Crazy that people can work in the U.S. I agree. And a perfect example, I was just in Chicago at O'Hare Airport. Nobody at the Dunkin' Donuts spoke English properly. The lady called out the number. She read the number incorrectly. I don't know. I'll just make a number up. It was like 4972. 4972, I think it was. And she called out a number something like 4927. And there's different tills, so that could be a 27, it could be a 72. So I looked, and it's not mine. So I'm standing waiting as my food gets cold. I'm being patient, not pressing them where it's at. And then finally I come over, and she looked at it again a couple minutes later, and she called out the number again incorrectly. And then she turned to some guy, an Indian guy, and asked him in some language from India. They got 1,000 languages there. I don't know what it is. And he said, no, it's 4972. I heard that, and I'm like, that's mine. Can't even speak English. Why are you working in a customer service? She had no idea what I was saying. Looked at me like I was from Mars. Now, before anyone says, well, you're just lazy, I speak 6 languages. I'm not going to learn 1,500 languages for all these people coming to the country. This is America. Speak English or get out. Learn the language. I take the trouble to learn languages when I go places. I'm not fluent in Italian, but I was able to get by in Italian in the brief period of time I lived in Italy. It's just nonsense. It's rude. It's arrogant to come to a country and not try to learn a language when you live there. I mean, if you're there for a few months, that's a different story. But when you live there, you immigrate, please. Well, that's the question. Who's allowing people to get driver's license who get 2 questions out of 12 on a federal test? Sandy Rautenbach, what's going on? Sedgefield's here. No, and it doesn't matter when you come. You got here in time for 30 minutes of the program live. Stephanie Hatzemichael, woo, where have you been? I love that name. We always talk about Richard Lemmer's back. Gauteng Education Department cut funding for school, which was mainly affect Afrikaans school. Push the feet. I don't know anything about that story. Okay. Rex is a lady obviously does not understand Sharia law. Debbie Lutz, thank you for your membership. I think I recognized at the time it came up, in case I missed it. Ed Tunmuller, best job is how that received top benefits, you paychecks for the rest of your life. Just be president for 4 years. Exactly. Trump spoke about the fentanyl yesterday. I researched and found out how dangerous it truly can be. Yes, 190 kilograms can kill half the country. It doesn't even take that much. Fentanyl is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Anyone investing in a large project like this before the ANC changed the overall policy is just crazy. Yep, can't see it happening. I agree. And that's the end of the chat I can get to. I can't go back any further. So, cool. Okay. All right. Cool. Stephanie Hatzemichael's here. That's awesome. Sounds like South Africa. Some people can't even speak proper English. Yeah. Reason I asked the refugee stream in Florida, they live in because there are people in Fort Lauderdale who say they could show. Oh, gotcha. Thank you, Elmarie. No, it's okay. I didn't know why you're asking. I was curious. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I didn't know if they wanted to share that. Okay. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Elmarie. Cool. Ingrid's not very talkative tonight. Okay. Sorry you got a headache. Anyway, folks, why don't we wrap it up here, huh? Okay. Should we wrap it up here? Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow, I will not be able to do the rugby broadcast with the Bulls because I think it's tomorrow. It's not today. Let me make sure they didn't move it today because they had it listed for today, but I'm sure it's not today. Flow Rugby. Let me just see. No. There's nothing today. And it shouldn't be on Thursday. It was weird that it would be on a Thursday, but it was listed as a Thursday broadcast. I knew it wasn't true because it did the same thing to me last week. Today is the 16th. There's nothing. So tomorrow, 17th, the Bulls are playing at 2:45, and my appointment is at 3:15, so I'm not going to be able to see that. It's in Galway against Connacht, so apologies for that, but I will be covering the rest of the URC games over on Saturday. So hopefully the Stormers can keep up their pace. It's against Zebra Parma. They should be able to win unless they have an atrocious day, so we'll see how it goes. Unfortunately, Dion Free will not be with them. A serious injury, and his career might be over. That sucks. All right. Yep, so the rugby, Fleshin, I will be covering the rugby on Saturday, but not tomorrow because of a orthopedic surgeon appointment. All righty. You're very welcome, Ronell Lowe, Leon Watley, And it's just about to ask, says Fleshin. Good to see you there, Fleshin. Auntie Floyd, good to see you there. I received a message from somebody that you know. Thank you for that. All right. And again, once again, folks, if you are in one of those refugees who are already approved to go over, we're told to go to Joburg or Pretoria, Cape Town to wait for your flight, and it got ganked on you, you're running out of money, and you can't feed your family, you need to send me an email to the channel. Food socks, we're going to help you with food socks, okay? And if you don't have a place to stay, you need to tell me the size of your party, your family, ages, genders, and we'll see what we can do to get you someplace to stay on a temporary basis, okay? Thanks a lot, folks. As a Bulls fan, I don't like to see Stormers doing well, but need one South Africa team to tour well. Exactly, Dirk. Okay, that's it. Y'all have a good one. Cheers. Bye-bye. It's been a pleasure.